stava a succedere nel bordello.
All right, what's going on, folks? Hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to another episode of the Bordello. We're live on location in Brooklyn. Are we in, is this Bay Ridge or am I?
Bensonhurst.
This is Bensonhurst? I drove all the way down.
You ever seen 25th Hour? Bensonhurst.
Fuck.
Bensonhurst.
We're joined with, oh, what the fuck?
We lost it. We lost the
We
connection.
lost it already.
We lost.
Feedback.
All right, we're
Feedback. GarageBand detected feedback. Monitor on, monitor off.
I got to do the 25th Hour again then.
Too loud. Huh? Has it been recording this whole time?
Well, good.
Let it roll.
We were rolling.
We'll let it roll.
Are we live?
We're the mics are hot now. Yeah, let me just turn this fucking thing down. Hang on.
Mike's are hot and he's cursing later. Right away.
No, we're good. We're joined by Paulie Malignaggi live in the flesh.
Boom.
I came to your home turf for this. This was a fun day. This was a great cultural experience. I was in Brooklyn last week for some shows. I was doing open mics in downtown Brooklyn, and downstairs there was an NWSL game going on, a National Women's Soccer League game. I think it was a playoff game, and there were two women with very short hair watching it intently.
Yeah.
And this ain't that Brooklyn.
No, this ain't that Brooklyn.
This ain't that
not that Brooklyn. With you, the description he's talking about, you know that Brooklyn. This is Bensonhurst, Brooklyn.
I lost a little bit of
Caffè
hope.
Sportivo. Shout out to Ivan from Caffè Sportivo. Check if you're in the neighborhood. Check us out, 75th Street and 18th Avenue.
Yes.
Caffè Sportivo. This is where we watch the games right here. This is where you want to be for your real cultural footballing experience.
And this
Bensonhurst.
Yeah. And this is where we watch the game today. Italy, Ukraine, 0-0. What a fucking
Where do we start?
typical.
Well, where do we end? Do we talk about it?
Well, okay.
I guess we got to have a discussion about this.
Look,
mediocrity cannot be accepted. That's my problem. Mediocrity is not something you can be happy about.
I don't give
that's
a
my
shit
problem.
anymore.
And I give a shit. I don't accept mediocrity.
Okay.
Anybody, you see Donnarumma pumping his fist. That's not a win. You pump your. That's not even a win. That's not a game. You pump your fists after. You silently stay satisfied that you got the qualification. You don't even publicly celebrate. You go into the dressing room, shake each other's hands.
Yeah.
We got a lot of work to do. You don't celebrate mediocrity. First of all, by today's standards, because back in the old days, a penalty kick is different. A foul in midfield is different than a foul in the box. Not everything. Now this is a foul in the box too. So by today's standards, that's a penalty kick at the end. Am I right? Am I wrong? Or am I right?
That was a penalty. We all saw it. We all thought we're a bar full of wops and one lovely
we were happy.
One lovely Belarusian woman who I was a little worried about when I walked in. She was very warm to me.
She had a little Ukrainian look.
But she had a little bit of a Ukrainian look to her, and I said, "Are we good? If I have this coffee right now, am I gonna fucking pass out dead? I know, I'm not from here. I don't know what's going on. We're like a bunch of guys all cursing the Ukrainians right now. Is she pro-cause? Is she anti-cause? I don't know. Lukashenko's kind of caught in the middle. I don't know. He's kind of like I don't know whose side he's on." I don't know if she's partial to him. I mean, you're over here. You may not like Lukashenko. I'm not really sure. There's a lot of variables going on.
There was.
So,
including the stress of the actual game.
Yeah, but so despite the fact that we're a whole bar of wops, we saw that and we were like, yeah, that's a penalty. We got a little lucky. Listen, at a certain point, something's got to go our way. Like I think what happened was, the higher ups might have stepped in and said, listen, it was fun. The narrative was really cool. Ukraine are playing away from home. It's a fucking packed Ukrainian stadium. They got the flags draped around them. They're singing the national anthem. They got a guy to sing the anthem, a voce, with the mic and everything, a cappella.
Yeah,
that was,
that was emotional.
Once I saw that, I thought, we actually have to fucking get a result here. I forgot about that. I thought
Shevchenko
this was all a
was
formality.
not tribuna.
Shevchenko was there. Yes, yeah. A dual Italian-Ukrainian citizen, I think. So
with an American wife, mind you.
Yeah, well, that's fine. People make choices. You have a Ukrainian wife, right? It's which we, it's a bit of a sensitive subject right now. We're not sure where you're going to sleep tonight.
Yeah. No, we're staying in Brooklyn tonight.
Okay, as opposed to where she
Cafe,
lived.
yeah.
Okay, well,
I might stay here in the cafe.
You're going to the mattresses.
I might hang out with Ivan tonight.
You're going to the mattresses tonight under the fucking floorboards. Yeah. Oh, this is great here. I love it. We got the Trump hat above the fucking above the drink fridge. Don't bring it on camera, Ivan. We're gonna have to blur it out like the shit that we're blurring out on the wall. The people don't want no.
Forza Napoli on top of the TV. Can we talk about Forza Napoli?
We can talk about Forza Napoli. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's
first Scudetto in 33 years.
Yeah. It's arguably. Well,
Forza Palermo right there.
It's a very Football-wise, we're totally apolitical. We got Palermo, we got Juve, we've got Italy, we've got Napoli. But you know, a line is drawn in the sand when it comes to the shit that really matters. Yeah, exactly. We don't watch women's soccer over here. So, okay, I'm all over the map here. But again, it was a good, it was a good experience being here. I will say overall, thank you very much to Ivan and Caffè Sportivo for allowing us to do this. It was a great, great cast of characters that we're all here. But again, we're all very partial. The blinders come on when you're watching an Italy game. You kind of poo-poo shit like, that's not a fucking foul. That was a penalty at the end. Yeah. We got a little lucky,
I hate to admit it, but, again, I'm also a realist, and I'm a person that cannot be satisfied with mediocrity. It goes to show you how low the bar has fallen. Really, how much we lowered the bar. At one time, we used to go into tournaments thinking about whether we were going to win them or not. Now we got to go into wondering whether we're even going to qualify and looking for breaks like this to qualify.
But the point is to just show up and to be there and to actually, make it. Because once you're at the tournament, I think the understanding is you can go on a run, and we tend to always, put up a good showing. We haven't in World Cups in recent years.
Sam, even before the last Euro, we were on a run before that last Euro. If you remember, we had that unbeaten streak, so you kind of could see us already hot. What are we going into this Euro with?
This is not that team. Yeah, this is not that team. Well, one thing I said,
momentum means a lot there. Last Euro we went into it with momentum.
Yes, yeah, and there isn't a long-standing kind of thing that will have been built going into this. Spalletti will have been in the role for less than a year.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to have a lot of juggling to do now for the next few months. He won't get many other opportunities to see any other guys. He's probably going to hold a camp, I guess, in the winter, and then there's like a fucking break in March, and that's it. He's got to call up the team in May. So. Yeah. I don't think Matteo Darmian's still going to be the right back come then. I think there were a lot of holes being plugged and a lot of stopgap measures being implemented. He doesn't know he doesn't know who he can trust, who he doesn't trust. Immobile was made captain, and now he's not even getting called up, which I don't know about you. I'm in favor of. I'm happy to not see him get called up anymore.
Immobile never wears an Italy jersey again.
Yeah, probably not.
I wouldn't have a complaint in my life. Honestly.
But there's been a lot of discovery.
And I'd also add Jorginho to that mix, but he's still getting called ups.
Well, who the fuck else are we gonna have now? Lorenzo Pellegrini's always injured. Tonali's may as well be injured. I'm calling it in. Just pretend Sandro Tonali
capped
doesn't
Buongiorno today. Buongiorno got a cap today.
Yeah.
Buongiorno, buonasera.
Buongiorno, buonasera. That's what I thought it was gonna be, dude. He fucking got a yellow card like 10 minutes in. I was driving
poor guy. He was outpaced right away.
I was yelling at my phone on the parkway, trying to drive over here. I had to go back to the studio to get all the equipment. I was fucking losing my mind seeing that Buongiorno started. I almost fucking drove off the road. And look, it worked. I think it's telling that a year ago I never wanted to see Azzurri play for us again, and now I see him and I'm like, you know what? At least he's experienced. The bar's gone down a little bit.
Yeah, it has gone down. That's the thing. I'm still not crazy about Azzurri, but again, like you just said about the other position, who else are we gonna play? Who else are we gonna call? You know what I mean? Like you're in a situation where Azzurri is probably your best bet at that position. Yeah. But that goes to show you how much the bar has lowered. The standards have lowered. I mean, bro, I was talking about it before. You heard me before we went off air. The England game, we looked like it was a boys' team against a men's team. I mean, they were outpacing us in every way. I mean, they were burning us standing there. I mean, you never would see that before. Even if Italy would get beat in the old days, they would go down fighting, and it was a tough game for anybody. It was always a tough out for everybody. Now, I mean, there's a different level here when we talk about elite teams or teams with elite players, and then us, and that's really, really disturbing. It's a disturbing trend, man.
Yeah, but you do have to realize that they've been building for a long ass time, and they had a pretty, they've had a pretty solid core for the last 3 years, and guys have just kind of intermittently been taken out and re-implemented. Whereas there's been a lot of turnover on our end, and I think it showed in that particular game.
We also don't develop our young talent. I mean, our youth system is non-existent. I mean, there's clearly how do the Dutch keep bringing up talent? You know what I mean? The Dutch have a smaller country than us.
The Dutch also missed the World Cup recently as well.
Yes, of course, but they randomly miss World Cups. They missed in 2002, they missed in '86, I think, and even '82. They randomly miss, but then when they come back, they always reestablish themselves. We're at a point now where we don't even have a plan to reestablish ourselves because our youth systems are non-existent. So you're not even planning to reestablish yourself.
Here's the thing.
When I was a kid, the Ajax youth system was among the best in the world.
They still are. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So what I'm saying is, where's your planning here? Because Milan's youth system was good too, but we need Italians.
But I don't know if it's the time to get meta. Just really zoom out and look at it with such a wide lens right now because we could talk about the issues in Italian football all day, and I get that you're on the pod and you're going to want to do that right now, but let's just kind of zoom in. We're all aware of the fundamental cultural issues, right, that are prominent in Italian football, namely that players tend to come up a little later. Then they get opportunities in Germany, Spain, England, even.
Yeah.
That much is true, 100%. But we still do, it's not like we're relying on the same old heads, that we've relied on for the last 13 years now that are getting to be 37, like, I don't know, Uruguay. You know what I mean? There is turnover. There are options that are kind of that are like intermittently tried to be, given a chance and I think one of the key issues here is that there was a coaching change, and Spalletti's job was to just qualify for the tournament, and now he has a lot of thinking to do. He's been in the job for 2 months. He's had 3 international breaks with it all to play for and all to lose. He wound up, getting, getting where he had to get. I mean, it was always going to be a tall task to overcome England, and once we lost that game, it was just a question of having to fucking play for second, and we got it. Ukraine, are very motivated right now, a fucking really proud, patriotic country who have gone through a lot. Here's the thing about Ukraine. It's fun to say, look at all these people in the stadium with Ukraine flags. How many of them are really Ukrainian? How many of them are fucking losers in Germany who are just taking a partial side in the cause? And how easy is it to get upset about that? But listen, maybe. But what you fail to realize is the actual Ukrainian people on the ground, like they're a savage fucking people. Yeah. They're a savage people. They're very they're cold and they're all business right now. They're all in on the cause and they're very united. And patriotism,
it goes a long way.
It goes along with football. It's played. It comes through in sports when you're playing. For a national team, especially one as prominent as a soccer team. Right? It's not the fucking basketball team. It's a soccer team
in Europe.
Right in Europe. So it's kind of like this metaphorical battle that they're going out to play for. So as fun as it is to say fuck people that have Ukraine flags now that don't have a whole hell of a lot of knowledge on the situation, to the people that actually want to have their own country, preserved and not come under attack, they're very fucking motivated right now. This was a big game for them, and we kept them at bay, despite it all. That's another way to look at it. It's upsetting because you'd rather them go out and, kill it, but how do we beat Austria, in the 2021 World Cup? It was a 0-0 result, and we almost lost. Arnautovic was like, half a foot offside, and it felt like a tournament game. You know what I'm saying? It just didn't feel like a regular old game in qualification. This felt like one where the stakes were higher, and so, chances are harder to come by. We created a lot. I didn't hate the way that Fratesi and Barella and like Raspadori and Chiesa looked in the first half. We just didn't get any finish.
We didn't get any finish because Chiesa and Fratesi had 2 very good chances.
I don't think we could beat a Spain, any given day. Sorry, I think we can beat a Spain any given day. I don't know that we're beating Spain 10 times out of 10. You know what I'm saying? If we come up against a top side, we have enough to make it interesting. I think it's better than the Conte team from 2016. You
think so?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think the Conte team of 2016 was very, very well organized.
It was
and they beat Belgium. If you remember, they beat Spain.
Very well organized.
They beat Belgium and Spain in 2016, and they ended up losing in penalty kicks to Germany. I think the way we looked against England, looked like 2 different levels of football. I mean, there was a physical difference. There was a technical difference.
They fell apart in the second half in that game.
But also, even the way they're playing, I mean, they're just a technical and physical difference between these guys. That first step pace on the English players. I mean, you can see there's an elite level there. And this is a national team that never wins, mind you. England is always competitive, but they never win anything. You know what I mean? And we look like we didn't belong on the field with them.
How great was it in the game today? Just knowing that the commentator, this British guy, whose name I can't produce, but I would recognize it if I heard it. Peter something. Was it Peter Jury? I'm not sure. But just this clear English guy who has disdain for Italy, who beat them in the Euro final, faced against Ukraine, one of the most from a neutral standpoint, just one of the most lovable sides right now in the Western world, given the anti-Russia sentiment. He was pulling for a fucking late result.
You could tell later in the game, every chance Ukraine had, it was he was jumping out of his seat.
He was like, heroes off the field. Can there be heroes on the field too? It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. He was looking for a narrative. He was looking for the political narrative, the headline narrative. He was looking to make a headline.
So you don't like Jorginho in the midfield?
I mean, at this point, no. At this point, I don't like Jorginho.
Really?
I also
even like just penalty taking aside. I thought he held
penalty taking cannot be taken aside because I'll tell you what. If you've missed that many penalty kicks, you are not emotionally invested enough if you are now going
maybe
about
you're too
on a penalty
emotionally-
kick.
maybe you're
no,
too
no, no.
emotionally invested.
No, not emotionally invested enough into yourself, not emotionally invested enough in the flag. And this is my problem with transplants. This is my problem with naturalized players.
What do you mean not emotionally?
This is my problem. It'll never mean to you what it means to us to miss a Euro or a World Cup. It'll never mean to you, because if you're still asking to take penalty kicks in key situations, you're making it about yourself and not about the team. Especially when you're still missing them, mind you. Forget about that you're still missing them. The fact that he missed all those penalties in a row that cost us a World Cup berth. I don't care about the other things that cost us a World Cup berth. We wouldn't have been in a situation to cost ourselves a World Cup berth if the guy had made a penalty kick, okay? So but besides that, the fact that you are not, the fact that you are still, when you get a penalty kick, you want the ball, you want to put it on the spot, and you're going to tell your teammates, I'm taking the kick. You're making it about yourself now. Now, you're not, it doesn't, the flag doesn't mean anything. The national team doesn't mean anything. It's actually about yourself. And when you make, I mean, for me, I feel like this is about even superstars. You can never make it more about yourself than
You think that Cristiano Ronaldo going up to stepping up to take a penalty, or David Beckham taking a penalty or taking a free kick against Greece isn't motivated by ego?
It's motivated by ego, but I also feel like they still value the flag more than themselves. Like, Cristiano wants to take the penalty kick because he trusts himself to make it more than anybody else on the team, and he wants to bring the country up front. He wants to bring the country forward. Jorginho doesn't care, dude. Jorginho's like, I gotta get over this rut. I'm sick of the headlines talking bad about me. I want to make a penalty kick. Let me take a penalty kick.
Maybe.
Nah, bro.
Maybe.
I mean, because at 4 times in a row, bro, you
I didn't want him to take the fourth.
Forget about the fourth. Forget it. At this point, even if somebody offers it to you, you should have the presence of mind to be a teammate. And say, you know what, guys? You guys take it, man. I want to win this game. I want to get, which they got by anyway. That one finally didn't cost us. But what I'm saying is, as a teammate, you have to say, I don't want to take this penalty kick. Somebody else take this penalty kick. Not take your, bro. Even the second one against Switzerland, he took Berardi off the ball, bro. The second one he missed against Switzerland, Berardi was going to take it. He took Berardi off the ball to take it himself, and saw himself costing us a World Cup spot. I'm sorry, bro.
It's a huge leap, though, to say that it's because he wasn't, born in Italy, right?
Okay, but if it means enough to you, winning means more than yourself. If it means enough to you. When it means enough to you, Roberto Baggio was dying to get the national team call-ups, even at the end of his career when he couldn't get it. He would do anything.
But
it still meant more to him than anything else.
But he was also, did you watch the...
Divinco Dino documentary?
Yeah, you watched the biopic?
The biopic, yeah. I did.
He was also a very, individualistic guy. Generally, the best players are. That's okay. That's kind of fine. You almost want a guy like that to be a psychopath. I will just say this. Your family immigrated to America. How many Italian Americans are super proudly American in addition to being proudly, Italian, right? But it's because, of the adoption of the values. And, I think that's happened with Jorginho as well. He's an adopted Italian. He has some lineage, I think, which is what enabled him to get naturalized early. So I don't know if he grew up with any, affiliation of the country at all. But I think in his case, it was like the naturalization and having come as a very young boy. Yeah. Right? So
that works, except,
I think
you can't make it more about yourself.
But I think if Barella's missed 3 in a row,
I think any good teammate,
he might still say, I want to redeem myself because maybe.
I don't see it, bro.
I think it's a personality thing. I don't know that it's down to...
I don't see it, bro. Not
national affiliation.
I can't see it, bro. I myself in that spot, who have been a world-class athlete myself, if I'm in a footballing position, I myself would make a teammate take the penalty kick. I myself, even if I'm offered, which I wouldn't be offered, nobody would offer it to you when you've missed 3 in a row. But even if I'm offered to say, hey, take I would say no. I want you guys to take it.
Well, the weird
it's about your team. It's about the fan base. It's about the culture. It's about bro. At that point, if you're still doing that, for me, it's a scumbag thing. I'm telling you. And then he missed on top of it. He missed again.
Yeah.
Mind you, which makes it all, which multiplies the effect of all those things.
The weird thing is, most athletes who make it to like the top level of any sport, or most people that make it to the top of, business or entertainment, if you're an actor and you fucking, serially network like a fucking sociopath and you're fucking sucking Hollywood dicks and you're doing what you got to do. There's a
guys and girls these days.
Yeah, you got to be a psycho to kind of get to a place of like prominence and to kind of be up on a pedestal. A lot of comedians are psychopaths. Just kind of in my world, you see a lot of guys who are funny, but who aren't. No, but you see a lot of guys who are funny, but maybe aren't quite as. They're just too nice, and they don't. It takes them a while to kind of make it. The best, the best people who, or some of the best minds at a company might not necessarily have the thing necessary to fucking backstab a guy to get a promotion, right? Consider, the top level of European football. A lot of these guys, have been the focal point of their family, Maybe they had a brother and a sister, and they got the fucking, they got most of the attention growing up because they were the one with like the golden, the golden foot, and they got the push. And then you get to being, at the top level of a sport. You're this psychopath, but you're playing in a team sport. That's kind of the weird duality there. You play the sport that you practice was an individual one where there's very little team play, right? It's not like wrestling where you have a wrestling team and you missing weight fucks over your teammates because you lose automatically, and that's a loss for your team. It's kind of you versus the scale. It's you versus yourself. It's you versus your own mind. Tennis, golf, boxing, are very different than football. So I do understand the need to kind of, put the needs of the team above your own, especially when it's a national team. That's kind of the weird, complex dynamic of representing your national team. Alessandro Buongiorno today is making a second cap, and he's representing you and I, We're in fucking Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. There's a bar full of wops, and we're being played through Alessandro Buongiorno, this guy who plays for Torino, there's a lot of weight that comes with it. Not to be dramatic, but
it's got to also be a sense of pride, a sense of honor, a sense of pride, honor, and all that other good stuff. It has to mean. It has to mean so much more than just yourself, even for somebody like Buongiorno. I mean, I feel like that's very honorable to get a call up from the national team in general. Obviously, I would never experience that on a footballing basis, but still, there's pressure, sure, but there's also an honor where it's got to be bigger than yourself. I'm sorry, I don't know, man. You see, here's the thing. The ego about the players like Ronaldo.
I wasn't happy when I saw Jorginho step up, just to be clear.
The ego for the players like Ronaldo, it's because they trust themselves to be the man for the job for their national team, for their country. They trust them, and rightfully so, because they deliver more than anybody else on that team, right? So you trust yourself. When you put your that national team jersey on and you put the national team first, you want the best for the national team. And sometimes with the superstars like Baggio, what we were talking about earlier, like Ronaldo, like you want to make yourself the focal point because you being the focal point makes the national team better.
Here's where I'll agree with you.
But when you're not, dude, you gotta sit back, and it's not about you. It's not about anything about you at all.
Here's the crazy thing, and I'll agree with you on your central point here on the basis of the fact that Jorginho wasn't even a central player in the team until this week. Yeah. He hadn't played in months.
Yeah,
you know what I
He's
mean?
still making himself a focal point.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's not Ronaldo. He's not Baggio.
And you're not supposed to make that penalty kick, even if it's offered to you. You don't take it. But let alone that you step up yourself and want to tell your teammates, "I'm taking it."
Dude,
that is a scumbag thing to do. I'm sorry. Thankfully, it didn't cost us.
I'd have 1,000% had Chiesa take it.
Yeah. Who was coming back, mind you, after a while, right? He had missed a couple of games with the national team.
I still don't have an issue with playing Jorginho given like the current circumstances. Who the fuck else are you gonna play? You gonna play Colpani today? I get it. Cristante's on the bench. He offers a thing that's kind of similar to what Jorginho offers, but
on the field,
Jorginho's probably a little more.
Yeah,
he just has a little better on the turn.
Yeah,
you gotta play him. The point of this international break is there was a lot of plugging holes and just trying to get over the line. It's just having fucking erectile dysfunction and just trying to you're pinching the base. You just want to get
you need the ring.
You've had a few fucking Negronis and you just want to get over the finish line. You're 58. You got half a blue chew left. Just get over the fucking line. Just do the job. Spit on it and fucking give her the shocker. You do what you got to do.
And don't overthink.
Just don't overthink. Yeah, that's what we were faced with. Not to be crude, but that's what it is. It's all right. We'll figure this out tomorrow.
Did we overthink today? I mean, Spalletti brought in Politano and then subbed him off. He subbed out his own sub.
Who's the guy we're supposed to trust? One of the few guys he knows from Napoli.
One of the few guys he knows from Napoli, exactly.
But isn't that telling as to the fact that he's fucking trying to figure it all out? We don't know what works. We also don't know who the hottest, who's going to be going into the tournament with the hottest hand is. Moise Kean scored 0 goals this year for Juve. He scored 4, and they've all gotten turned out, ruled out for offsides and yellow cards and such.
Rules.
Yeah, they've all been dumb. He's been playing pretty well. But he's just the hot hand now. The reason he got called up, for the first time in months is because he had a good 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. He's off the bench. Yeah. El Shaarawy's the hot hand. He scored a goal against Macedonia the other day. Mm-hmm. He's been doing all right for Roma, but is he going to be there in fucking June? I don't know. Maybe.
I always like El Shaarawy.
So have I.
I think he should have been given a chance over Immobile in the game that didn't qualify us for the World Cup, honestly. Immobile being up front in that game was a waste of time as well, as it had been for the entire Euro and everything else.
Maybe, but these aren't staples. When you talk about how we played against England, we were just playing against the England team who was doing their thing at Wembley with the same cast. As much as people shit on them for having like Calvin Phillips always playing, it's because they have a constant. They have a constant,
chemistry.
Yeah, they built the team in a way that is typical of club football, and it's what Mancini did. And then all of a sudden, it just stopped working. And it's because of randomness. It's because of randomness. It's because Jorginho missed a penalty against Switzerland. We should have qualified directly, not even had to go through the playoff. And then you go into the World Cup with the same team. We probably don't win it, but but we're there.
No,
we're there.
But
and then the team slowly gets turned over.
You're missing 2 key points, though, Sam. You're missing a point that if we get to the World Cup, we bring back Chiesa from his injury and we bring back Spinazzola from his injury. Spinazzola's still not back. Spalletti doesn't call him.
Yeah.
Mind you,
it's
we
the
would
same
be in the
core.
World.
It's the same
exactly,
core.
and we
That's
would
my
be
point.
with 2 key players because Spinazzola with pace, Chiesa's pace was really, really really important factors.
I'm saying Emerson Palmieri's probably still getting called up in the World Cup last year, for example, because he was part of the core, And eventually there's turnover and, a few guys get implemented here and there. But I do believe that it's just partially down to bad luck. And then once you get to the playoff, through sheer, circumstance, then the lore starts to build because it's the second time it's happened in a row. And today, we did at least overcome, something. We overcame the lore. We got a monkey off our back, At least in this case,
we did it.
Yeah, we didn't need to score today. We needed to not concede, and we didn't concede. I'm not thrilled about it, but you got to be pragmatic. I think the time to really start, getting mad is during a tournament, and that's when, emotions are higher. The games in a tournament are much like the game today, And I do understand the tendency to kind of go back and look at it with a critical eye. But consider this like the third game in a group in a tournament, and we just needed to draw to get through to the round of 16, and we did. Consider it that. That's kind of what happened. And then you're left to ponder, well, what are our chances against, the better teams in the next round, Or in this case, what are going to be, what are our chances going to be when, if we get drawn in a group with like, a Croatia or a Holland? Fine, but that's what the Euro is.
Because we're not going to be a testa di serie, as we call it. Not the way we've been playing, right? I mean,
no. I also don't think we're going to be a top seed as a second place team in the group. Yeah, we might be in the B pot, so we're probably going to have to play. We could wind up playing against Albania, right? Who finished top of their group. You don't fucking know, or Serbia, but. I get it. We're left to ponder how it will look come the tournament. But the point is, at least we're fucking there. There was no guarantee a week ago that we would have gotten to this point. We almost fucked up against Macedonia.
Yeah.
5-2 looks good, but we almost blew a 3-goal lead.
Game, yep.
Yeah, Even though the second goal was through a deflection and it was unlucky, but that's the point. Randomness can happen. Yeah. Bad luck can happen.
And even Donnarumma is a little bit shaky.
I was gonna ask you what you think about him
because even though
Vicario was never gonna play, he had a bug, so he wasn't even in the team. But do you think Vicario has any chance of overtaking? Thank you, Donnarumma come June?
I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like Donnarumma, because he has this kind of Italy's very political too, right? We have this whole political standing. Like a PSG goalkeeper is gonna start, right? Because it's a PSG guy. It's a big money team, and he won the Euro for us, which Italy has a lot of times a hard time to letting go of certain position players like this. I mean, we did it in 1986 after the 1982 World Cup.
Yeah, it's the goalkeeper. It's tough to.
Yeah, it's tough to. I mean, in '86 with the keeper, we actually did change. But what I'm saying, we have a tendency to do this with a lot of players,
especially at his age.
Even
too.
in 2010,
he's not an old player.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
David De Gea got kicked out. He lost his position at the helm of Spain, but he was like on the wrong side of 30. And he'd been around for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not
But
all that.
I do think you're
asked.
risking with Donnarumma. Even in games where he doesn't actually cost us, like today, there's a couple of shaky moments where you're like, what's this guy doing? You know
Yeah,
what I
but
mean? Like,
Vicario.
what is he thinking?
Yeah, but Vicadio's never played for the national team, really.
Yeah,
right?
and if
I
you're
actually, I
gonna-
don't think he's. I don't even think. I don't
If
even
you're
think
gonna
he's made
give
a
him
cap.
playing time, you need to
So-
get him in a friendly before that anyway. If you're gonna cap him,
It's
you need
just
him
bold.
playing
Yeah,
in
it's
a
a
friendly.
thing that other countries do a lot. You know, Costa Rica might just call up. Actually, that's a horrible example because of Keylor Navas. But whatever, just a random. Panama. I don't know.
Yeah.
Might just call up. A new head and just say you're the starter for this tournament. Go have a good time. And then he has to get his footing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a position that we really could or should be in, given the fact that Donnarumma's a really great shot stopper and he's been there before. It's
At
the
his
go-
best,
I
Donnarumma is
just
very
don't-
good. It's just he's so weirdly inconsistent, man.
But I
And
don't
it starts
underst-
to
but-
it starts to really, really be off-putting. at times.
Is
When
that
you look at him-
enough to warrant, a discussion as to whether or not he deserves to start? That still feels crazy to me. A lot of countries will just roll with a guy until he dies.
Yeah.
Till the wheels come
I
off,
know. I've seen it, but again, it's tough, man. I don't know, man. We've been spoiled by what a lot of years with Gianluigi Buffon, right? But even before Buffon, I feel like Italy always produced some pretty good keepers. And I gotta be honest, in the Euro, Donnarumma had me feeling like he could be on that Buffon level to have that kind of career. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if it was because Navas was starting at PSG for so long that Donnarumma is sitting the bench for his first year at PSG. Maybe it hurt his confidence or whatnot. I don't know, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Also, there was that one game in the Champions League when
that
he
was
gave
once
up
he
the
was
ball
playing. Yeah, he gave up
to
the ball, but-
Benzema, and they
Yeah.
scored and won, and it's probably firmly in his rear view because the psychology. You've come back from a loss, right? You had a bunch of really important title fights
Mm-hmm.
in your career. You won some, and you lost a couple of really big,
of course.
really big fights that might
There's
have,
some big psychology with that, of
right?
course.
So how does one come back, especially in a sport like boxing, right? Consider this, actually. This is a good metaphor. Especially in a sport like boxing where a lot of guys are, looking to pad their records in the beginning, and you want to build up as impressive a record as possible. And then once you get a loss on your record, it's a whole different sell from a business standpoint. Listen, Canelo's lost. It can happen. Most guys do at some point, but it's like you ride the bull until the loss comes, and then you ponder what happens next.
How you get it back.
Yeah, be it at the highest levels or even at the fucking the showy, now popular but obviously much lower levels like Jake Paul. He loses a fight. How does he bounce back from this? It's kind of just the culture in boxing, right? Likewise, when you're a goalkeeper, if you make a mistake, it's highlighted. You cannot make a mistake as a goalkeeper. So it's probably firmly in his rear view, because it's necessary for him to overcome, stuff like that. It probably never leaves him, but you need to have enough mental fortitude to be able to come back from it, right?
Yeah, I mean,
And
I feel like he hasn't cost us with the national team so much. I mean, the Macedonia goal that when with the World Cup playoff, it's tricky, but it's not like a totally on him, right? I mean, it's like there are people that say, oh, he should have stopped it. He got off his feet late. He right on the balls of his feet late. I can get, but again, it's not strong enough, right? It's not like a Zenga in '90. You're probably not old enough. Zenga in '90 cost us the World Cup. Walter Zenga actually cost us the 1990 World Cup. But I'm saying,
I know he was a goalie in that tournament, but it's before my time. Yeah,
but I mean, with Donnarumma, he hasn't had that kind of mistake. But you can see the writing on the wall a little bit. That's what scares you. He makes some decisions. You're like, yo, and it doesn't cost us a goal. But you're always thinking, man, this guy's a liability.
I wonder if it's because he's now under your and my microscope as a fan because of shit that we've seen in the past that's made us scared, but that is now in his rear view. Is my point. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
What?
After, sorry, no, go on.
No, because he makes some good saves too. Even today, he had a couple of nice stops too.
Yeah,
it's not all bad.
No,
it's just, man, the inconsistency drives you nuts.
After the Cotto loss, when you came back, did you in your mind still think you were the man?
It was weird.
There's a follow-up question, but
of
did you
course.
still think you're the man?
Yeah, I mean, you have to believe in yourself. There was
forget about your family.
No,
your mother, your cousin,
there's
your
a lot
grandfather, what
of,
they were saying, your coach.
Yeah,
you in your own mind. Did you believe you were the man still? Did you believe you can come back and
I did believe it. I did believe it. But making it happen and believing it is two different things. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew I was good enough, but I knew that acting it out was a different thing.
Here's a better question. Once you kind of once you regained your footing, did the first did the Cotto loss kind of eventually wind up in your rear view and you thought I'm fucking back?
Yeah.
Okay.
You won
well,
championships, of course.
Great. how do you think viewers and fans of the sport might have viewed you? They might have thought, well, he's lost before, right?
Yeah.
Being in your own mind and being the guy who kind of has the final say and the guy who's actually in the ring, in the arena, and being the guy watching saying, I don't know, speculating is very different.
Of course.
I don't know that Donnarumma, he doesn't show anything to me that makes me think that he's in his own head, which is a goalkeeper you can be. I just think
I don't know, but at times you don't see him.
He's
at times,
awkward.
But you don't see him at times. He doesn't call for the ball.
Because
like
he looks
the
like
ball's
a
in his box.
Because he looks like a tube man. It's because he looks like a tube man. He looks like a fucking tube man outside a Colombian restaurant.
Sometimes, Sam, sometimes he's not calling for the ball when it's there. I feel like he's not taking as much command in moments. Like there's moments where he's got to get in there and call for that ball, man. You know what I mean? When it's in his own box. You know what I mean? It's in his 6-yard box.
You're
like,
never gonna see him go away. He's gonna be around for another 12 years.
And I don't know that I want to see him go away. I'm not saying it, but I'm just saying. You do start to wonder about guys like Vicario and things like that, But at the same time, I don't know if I'm ready for that. I'm not sure I'm ready to go away from Donnarumma. But man, it's like I feel like I've been spoiled with Buffon for a long time.
It's like being married, man. It's like you see your parents. They had this fucking lovely marriage. Maybe they fucking met in the old country, and it wasn't like an arranged marriage. They actually married for love, and they were married for fucking 176 years. 176 caps, Buffon was around forever till he was 40, right till the end, like almost 5 World Cups, won a tournament, your dad fucking made it in business, he never lay a hand on his on mom, never cheated, nothing. And it's like you get married and, your wife is a little lippy to you at one point, or maybe you fucking lose your job. You lose your job. You don't qualify for a World Cup.
Yeah.
You got to have this conversation. She still stands by you, but things are tough, You kind of overcome challenges and, you wind up coming back. You come back from it, you're back on your feet. You have kids, you're paying off the mortgage. It's going all right. But then, this new secretary who's 27 years old and you're 38 years old comes in and you're like, fuck, she looks just like my wife did 12 years ago. Yeah. But she has, but my wife is a curvy Puerto Rican and this is she's like a, Kendall Jenner model type. Different qualities.
Different times.
But what do you got to do? You got to say, you know what? I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
She takes care of me.
Because the grass is not always greener on the other side, right?
No.
Yep.
No, Vicario's not the best goalkeeper in the world.
Yep.
He'll make a mistake now and again,
Yeah.
He had a couple of tough, occasions or incidents, when he started off at Tottenham. He found his footing. They're one of the best teams in the country now. Good for him. Good for them. But you don't think that would happen on a fucking, big stage with Italy? It could happen. And if it does, forget it. Forget it, dude. Out of necessity.
You'd rather deal with the devil than the devil you don't?
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a really good fucking point, dude. But it's also the goalkeeper position, Conversely, you could fuck around with the strikers and you could play around. It's like you could treat the forward line like a chemistry experiment. The stakes are lower. They can fuck up constantly.
Yeah, and they do. I mean, we did with Immobile, Chase, keeping them going and going and going, yeah.
It's very rare that you'll have a guy that comes in and always does a job for you, That's why, Fratese's impressed me. I don't think he's had a bad game since he's played for us, and I think he fits really well with the type of football. He should have. He should have scored today.
You can't, again,
but
I hate...
But he gets in positions to score.
He gets in positions. I like him.
He's
I like
so
him.
exciting.
But I need... I have a pet peeve when guys can't perform in big moments. Man, and you know what? He's still young.
But
it's too early to judge
He
him.
has performed in big moments.
No, this is the big moment. The Ukraine game 2 months ago when he scored a couple of goals, that's not as big a moment. This is the big moment. When you need a result today, that's the big moment right here,
Yeah.
But still, he's too young to judge on that standard.
Put a good foot in.
He's still too young to judge on that standard.
He put a really good foot in at one point at the end of the game. A little challenge to break up a counterattack right before the end of regulation time. I like him a lot. He reminds me a little bit of Verratti in terms of how he moves, but he's got better attacking qualities. He's not as good a tackler, but
you just I don't want to go away from it. You just brought something up with Verratti. Okay, why is it? Let me ask you something, Tim. Why is the national teams, for example, Ronaldo plays in Saudi Arabia, Neymar plays in Saudi Arabia. They still get capped by their national team. Doesn't matter they go play in Saudi Arabia, right? Their national teams are probably better than ours at this point, right? So, or in Brazil's case, definitely. But I'm saying it doesn't matter if you go play in Saudi Arabia. If you're the guy, they'll still cap you, right? Verratti goes to play in Saudi Arabia, and all of a sudden Italy's too big to cap him.
Yeah,
we're a big shot. Where do we get the whole big shotedness? We're a team that doesn't qualify for World Cups. We're struggling to qualify against Ukraine here. Where do we get our balls big enough to all of a sudden say, you know what? You going to play in Saudi Arabia? Nah, we're not
I think
gonna
we're
cap you
one.
anymore.
I think
What
we were,
is that,
I
dude?
think we were one injury away from calling him back in. And
Why
funnily,
do you even need to be there though? You're Italy, bro. You're not Italy from 1990 and 94. You're Italy from now. Where do you get your balls big enough to say Verratti plays in Saudi Arabia? You know, forget about him.
I don't know. There's like a complex.
Portugal
about it.
plays calls Ronaldo. Brazil, when Neymar's not injured, calls Neymar.
Still- yeah,
So,
yeah.
You know what? What's with us? Who are we?
I know. Hang on one sec. Caro, stiamo ancora filmando? Sta ancora filmando? Non si sta filmando? Che dice? È nero. Minchia, per la Madonna Gesù Cristo. Hang on one sec. Keep the mics off. All right, we're back. Well, we're on video now. Paulie, wave to the camera.
We're back.
We're back. This will be a fun fucking edit. This is gonna be a fucking well. Anyway, we got the audio. The audio's good. I mean, we're gonna have
got
to
a little bit of talk on Verratti.
let's just put what are we gonna do for the first part of the podcast, which is gonna be just audio only on YouTube.
just a
Should we
thumbnail. A thumbnail.
Just a thumbnail of what? What is the thumbnail? That's the question.
Donnarumma pumping his fists after the win.
Oh my God. Just a Trump hat, just a Trump hat on Roberto Mancini. Just get like a.
Roberto Mancini covering Chiellini's face in the celebration picture.
Anyway, look. So just to, all right. We'll figure this out. We'll figure this out later. We'll deal with this. But by the way, I'm loving the ads on the local Fox Sports 2 New York local station over here. I'm seeing BMW ads saying that they're the official sponsor of the New York Islanders. I'm seeing ads for the New York Department of Sanitation.
Yeah, they got involved. They get involved a little bit. Although I'm a Rangers fan, Sam. I don't know.
Are you a Rangers fan?
Montreal? Are you Canadian?
I'm a Habs fan.
Yeah.
But
the good thing about the Habs for me, like I don't have to at least hate them. Like they've won so many championships, but in my lifetime they haven't actually done it. So,
they haven't
I
done
actually don't have to
They're
dislike them.
meaningless to
I
you.
personally dislike the New Jersey Devils and the Pittsburgh Penguins with a passion.
yeah, because
with a passion.
The Devils have always done
And
something.
they've been a Northeast team that have been the Rangers nightmare, and so is Pittsburgh.
They've always been there. They've always been present. They've always done something, even though it was ugly.
Yeah.
Nothing about them is attractive. It just feels like a team from the fucking sewer.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't stand them. But for example, my older uncles, for example, they hate the Islanders like I hate the Devils. But I can't hate the Islanders because I wasn't alive. I wasn't alive, but I was too young for those 4 championships in a row where they beat some good Rangers teams. Where I heard on those runs. But my whole life they pretty much sucked or were mediocre, so to speak. A couple of decent years, but. I don't have to hate the Islanders so bad. I'm actually happy when they're decent because Long Island is a small community and I kind of like it. But the Devils can't stand them.
A lot of young Italians hate Spain. They hate the Spanish national team because they always kind of they were one of our boogeymen for most of my life. I'm a Gen Z guy.
For young Italians,
26. I'm born in '97.
I'm old enough to know when Spain used to get sunned by everybody and they would underachieve constantly. But so like when they finally got good, it was like, oh, you know what? It's a nice thing to see. Like they've got a lot of talent.
Yeah.
They've always had a lot of talent in that league, but they always got sunned by somebody and they couldn't put it together. But finally, starting in 08, they started getting it together. So it wasn't like crazy bad. You know what I mean? Like I kind of enjoyed that little run from Spain, and I don't have a hatred for Spain like that. Like I'm personally anti-Brazil constantly because they got the more World Cups, right? And they beat us in 2 finals, one which I experienced. But Spain, it's like, whoa, that was a nice run. That was some nice football to watch for those years. For me, personally.
There's a few rivalries that make sense, for us. Sporting rivalries, right? Brazil is one of them, right? Mm-hmm. Macedonia, a sporting hatred.
We have gotten to. That's how far the bar has been lowered.
Well,
went from Brazil and Spain and France type of rivalries to Macedonia. That's how far the bar
Korea.
is lowered.
You say the word Korea, even though it was North Korea in the '60s that beat Italy in a World Cup. It doesn't matter that it's North or South. It's all just one Korea in the mind of a lot of Italians. Because the 2002 World Cup losing to Korea, in the 1960s losing to North Korea. In the World Cup. So there's this like complex with Korea as well. Those kind of make sense at least because there's like an aggravating incident. I find it funny when 2 countries have like a really deep hatred for one another on the basis of the fact that they're almost the same.
Well, there are a lot of those countries, right?
It's like Turkey and Armenia. I mean, I know one tried to wipe out the other.
Yeah. No, that comes into play a lot.
But look at a Turkish guy, look at an Armenian guy, look at a Spanish guy, look at an Italian guy.
Yeah, they look the same. Yeah.
If you're a woman who says I love Italian men, great. One of these 2 is an Italian man, the other's Spanish. Whose dick do you want to suck?
That's like Serbia and Albania. It's like they kind of look very much alike. And I feel like people get offended if from those countries.
England and Scotland.
England and Scotland.
dude.
No,
Come on.
I totally get it. I mean, I see that a lot actually.
know?
Russia and Ukraine, for example.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean?
Can we?
So-
Yeah. What are we doing here? You know,
and
it's like infighting within the family.
yeah, and a lot of times those rivalries kind of bleed into soccer a lot. And a lot of times those rivalries bleed. I can remember Switzerland scoring World Cup goals against Serbia and Shaka and Shaqiri, who were Albanian Swiss guys, doing the Albanian Eagle there. So, you know, they kind of bleed into the sports part of the rivalry basis, you know?
Yeah, that's a cool one because it's rooted in immigration. It's not intuitive. You wouldn't think that Serbia and Switzerland would have hatred, but because of the crossover.
Because of the crossover with Albania, yep.
What's the best Italian rivalry, in your opinion?
As far as Serie A is concerned?
No, the best Italian, the best national rivalries.
I don't know, man. I mean, I feel...
Is it Italy, France?
In my life, it may have been Italy, France, yeah, because we got 2 finals with them. We lost also in '98. I was a kid when they beat us in '86. I can remember the game. I don't remember the '86 World Cup, with the exception of some very generic memories. I wasn't following it. I wasn't understanding enough to follow it. The first World Cup I actually was able to follow, understanding it, was 1990. But I can remember the '86 World Cup. I actually lived in Italy. And I can remember the Italy-France, the day they played, because my father was snapping out in the house. And I didn't understand what was going on. And I asked my mother, you know, what's wrong with my father? Like, you know, why is he snapping out? Because he was banging his head on the wall, like he was flipping out, you know?
Yeah, like you were doing today, fucking during the Ukraine game.
And my mom's like, yeah, no, leave Papa alone, you know, he's mad because Italy's losing. And I remember asking the question as a curious kid, like, oh, well, who is Italy losing against? And she said France. And I didn't know it was a World Cup.
That's how it starts.
Years later, I'm looking at an almanac with old like football scores, soccer scores, and I see Italy got eliminated in the '86 World Cup by France, and I'm like, wow, that was the game.
By the way, that's the origin story for a lot of Hamas terrorists too. You know?
The child
whose
trauma.
fault is this? It's the Jews.
Yeah.
You know,
to the child trauma being brought forward. But in reality, even just before I was born, I mean, Italy beat France in the '78 World Cup, right? So you got '78, you got '86, then '98, 2000, 2006. Italy-France for me may be the biggest sporting rivalry for Italy, for the Italian national football team in my lifetime.
Culturally, it's a real good breeding ground for the rivalry to exist because they're like kind of two of the same, and they probably don't want to admit it. You know, I mean, France.
Napoleon's Italian, guys. Napoleon Bonaparte is Italian. You know,
I can't wait, dude. I'm so fired up for that movie next weekend.
I hope they don't ruin it, dude. That's my only thing. Like, Hollywood ruins so many stories.
You know what
I almost can't bear myself. They ruined so much already. Like I at this point, you know what I do? I make friends watch it first, and make friends that I trust, and I make them tell me if it's good. Like for example, totally different kind of movie, but Top Gun, the Top Gun sequel. They ruined so many sequels for me. I needed some friends that I specifically trust to tell me it was good before I went to watch the Top Gun sequel.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't want this movie to be ruined.
Did you watch Did you watch Killers of the Flower Moon?
No. I don't watch a lot of modern stuff.
Good.
Again,
Scorsese, long, but yeah.
Good.
Perfect. Yeah. But you know, so that's the fun thing about that is it's a story that he kind of told and no one really gave a shit about. He kind of has creative liberty with it. The thing with Napoleon is when you go into like when you go into depth about like a really important historical figure, you're always going to wind up putting a lot of creative you're going to sprinkle a little bit of mustard on it, and it's the creative liberty is kind of where it gets a little weird sometimes, right? Like there was this one movie I think about Caligula from the '70s,
and Caligula was a weird guy.
It was a weird guy, yeah.
I heard he made his horse a senator. I heard that.
Really? Yeah. And the whole movie, it was just a softcore porn movie, basically.
Really?
You know. And to be fair, that actually might have been really realistic, but a lot of the really weird creative decisions that get made in like the context of historical movies are abundant. You know, there's a lot of those. But I don't know. I thought Ridley Scott did a good job with that with Gladiator. I just think the one thing that I find weird about movies like that, I think Ridley Scott's also doing Napoleon. I think the weird thing with those movies, though, for me, that takes me out of it is that they're speaking English. I don't understand that.
Well,
with a British accent.
Yeah.
You know?
With a British accent, and then that wasn't spoken either way.
Yeah.
I get it. But Ridley Scott making Gladiator in 2000 and Ridley Scott making Napoleon in 2023 could go in a lot of different directions, man, unfortunately, because I don't feel like these guys have the complete creative control as much as they're the guy on the record, right? I mean, I don't know, man. I hope they don't, for example, and I don't know how political we can get here, but they made Alexander the Great gay when what's his name played him, and I don't know if he was gay. And I know there's only rumors in that and whatnot, but
Macedonia back in the probably all a little.
I don't know.
Bit.
You see, I'm saying like
that's
conventional.
The thing.
Like, that's the conventional thinking, but there's also storylines where once great empires, once they fell, is when they started to go a little sideways morally, right? So, I mean, I don't know. Do you go with that or do you not go with that? I don't know. You know, it's like you're going in different directions with too much creative control at times. They just keep to the story, bro. Like Alexander was a conqueror. Keep it to that story. You know what I'm saying?
I'm worried that if I watch the Napoleon movie, it'll make me a little bit like it'll make me think France is a little cool. It'll make me a little too fired up about the French cause. That's one thing. I'm just gonna be.
I'm actually very. I've looked into the French Revolution a little more actually recently because it was the one. I'm sort of a low key history nerd, and I hadn't gone back into the French Revolution as much. I'd mainly gone into a lot of 20th century stuff and down a lot of rabbit holes. The 20th century can be a really, really crazy rabbit hole itself.
Yeah.
When you consider the mainstream narrative and then the actual narrative, it's crazy. So I've gone down that rabbit hole, and it's left me sort of still on unsteady ground. But I started going down the French Revolution rabbit hole, and I find myself really fascinated with Napoleon. You know what I'm saying? Really, really fascinated.
He's a fascinating guy. That's why I'm going to want to watch the movie, and I'm worried that he's
incredible-
going to just fire me up about the French cause.
An incredible general. I feel like the French cause, there was some justification in it, and of course, just like in anything else. I mean, there's more gray than black and white, but
there's going to be some duality with it. Where I'm gonna
but I don't know what kind of narrative they're going to play because Hollywood loves to play the black and white narrative as far as good and bad is concerned. When reality's more in the gray than it is black and white, right? So
it seems like
Hollywood
they're going to make him be a
loves to
really
play it.
flawed figure, but dude, like
He is, but of course he is. Damn, he is. But he was a terrific general. If once you look into the battles that this guy won, the fact that he was constantly outnumbered, and the way he flanked everything. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was like. Wow, this guy's a fascinating guy. A military genius.
My concern is that like I'm gonna watch it and just get like patriotically French, where I'm just gonna say, "Fuck, he was such a great general. God damn, that fucking country's going down the shitter now."
Well,
I mean, they're losing their values. We need to protect French culture.
I kind of have felt that way. Yeah. Once I started learning about him, I kind of did go that way.
I don't care what they do, but I'd like it for there to be a little bit of like the French typical culture to be preserved, just so that there could be a thing for Italy to go up against and be juxtaposed with,
I like culture in
this
general.
food versus that food, whose fashion is better. But it's the same type, they smoke profusely. They both,
But that's Europeans in general. Come on, man.
just perverse, sexually perverse, really, anal sex on the first date. Like, it's a lot of that, It's the same fucking vibe,
Yeah.
Come here, I'm going to fuck you. Like weird porn stars coming out of either country. That's kind of, I think, what the origin of the rivalry is, French food is better, Italian food is better. That's
both are countries of romance in some ways,
Yeah. It's got to be Italy, England's a fun one.
That's more recent though.
But I think that's a real footballing one. There's less.
Yeah.
There's less. I do think it's a little bit of the Italians sticking their nose up to the Brits, and then a lot of the English sticking up their nose to the dirty wogs type of thing.
Yeah, but I'll tell you
what. A little bit.
Very interestingly, the empire of the British Empire kind of grew out of the Roman Empire, right? When you think about it, right? I mean, and as far as the Roman Empire expanded and then kind of fell a little by little, and the kind of the British Empire sort of kind of hybridly came out of it and then became the British Empire. So it sort of fell into one into the other. Yes, there were little powers in between Rome and England, but as far as major world powers are concerned, there was probably not one that stuck out the way England did after the Roman Empire. There was a couple that stuck out to a degree, but the British Empire became the next major empire after Rome, and so that's kind of cool,
The fun thing about any time we play England is everyone's on our side because everyone just kind of hates England because of the empire.
Well, Irish are always on our side. The Scots are always on our side.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Italy, Brazil's one that I never really got to experience, any acute rivalry between Italy and Brazil. I've known about it, but I've never.
One or two different levels.
We never played them at any. It's been a while since we played Brazil at a really important level.
Yeah, 94 and 82. Yeah,
never really since 1970. Yeah. It's like one of these great historical ones
because we're the top two World Cup winners, right? Along with Germany, so it's got to be mentioned. But I always look at it like, man, I was like, if we had just won one of those finals, we'd have the most World Cups out of everybody. It's that close, it's that tight.
I find it fun. Yeah, ever since I was a kid, I've had this idea that in my lifetime, we'd better when I die, we'd better be the ones with
the most World Cups.
Me too. Why? I don't know.
When I was a kid, it was 3-3-3, mind you, because Germany won the '90 World Cup, and we were all at the top.
Yeah, in 06, we pegged one back, and it's like, all right, we're gonna get him at some point. Why I've cared so much, I don't,
And mind you,
it's weird, but it's just it gets cooked into you as a child,
It does, but look, both in '70 and '94, the finals, you're battling for supremacy of who's gonna have the most World Cups.
Yeah.
In '70, we both had two. That was the most.
Right.
And Brazil passed on to 3, and we had to catch them 12 years later.
94.
In 94, we both had 3,
Yeah.
and Brazil took supremacy, and we still didn't catch them, but 12 years later, we got 1 back.
Right.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing is, nobody ever had to teach me to hate Germany. I just learned on my own.
Just a little, well, again, it's a footballing rivalry too.
Yeah,
though,
it
you
is.
know?
But I remember. You remember the girl after Del Piero scored the second
crying.
goal,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
Holding her head in her hands. I remember being a little 8-year-old saying "fuck." You know, I wasn't dropping f-bombs and calling her a bitch, but I remember feeling that. And if I had the vocabulary for it,
Yeah.
I would have called her a cunt.
Well-
I would have said, "You fucking stupid."
Well, I'll tell you
I was
what.
8, watching
I'll
by
tell you
myself,
what,
and it just came out of me.
We can't hate Germany because we won a World Cup in their country, just like they can't hate us because they won a World Cup in our country. You know what I'm saying? So
we're kind of bonded through. We're bonded through
winning on each other's turf
and
you know?
dictatorship, and you know, through
that's
Yeah, it's-
that aside.
It's
Yes.
the guys you're familiar with. Yeah, nobody talks about that. How we just kind of, you know, we flip the narrative, and it's like, hey, listen, we'll give you, come visit Amalfi. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We'll give you some food. We'll give you
Just-
some vacation spots.
You know,
By the way, Italy is one
good
of the
cinema.
big-
Yeah,
we got cinema. We got food. We got skiing in the north.
we
got
did a
beaches
lot
in
to
the
get
south.
back in the good
We've-
graces. You know.
Yeah, I mean, when you lose the war, typically you're in bad graces either way. I think
Yeah.
whatever side wins the war is going to dictate what's good graces and what
Here's
bad
good
graces.
cinema. Please forgive us.
Yes.
You know.
And food.
Here's good
We'll
food.
give
Please
you
forgive
plenty
us.
of food. The
Here-
Germans give us good cars though. Give a good production.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Not as sexy. You know.
Not as sexy, but
No. Yeah. You
but
know?
definitely more dependable. I've
Yeah.
had German cars and I've had Italian cars.
Yeah, but
German
yeah,
cars.
Italian
German
cars,
cars.
forget
Italian
about it.
cars are sexy, but they're not dependable.
It's all aesthetic. It's all aesthetic.
Yes.
It's all about you know.
Yes.
It's not. Yeah. It's nothing like American cars, which are all about you know
Dependability.
power and dependability, and German cars that are about fucking efficiency. It's just
Yeah.
about. It's about.
It looks good in pictures.
It's good for
On
a
your
fling.
Instagram post,
It's
yeah.
good for a fling.
Yes.
You pull up in an Italian car. Hey, get in the car, baby. We'll have a good 6 months. I'll ruin your life, and then the
Yep.
car will fall apart,
Yeah.
and we'll fall on hard times, and I'm gonna have to go back to my mom in Italy, whatever the fuck the case may be.
And
you know?
you'll leave me because women are always waiting for you at the finish line.
It
They never
sell-
take the ride with you anymore.
It sells more than the guy showing up in the Volkswagen. You know.
Yeah.
The guy showing
in
up.
the Beetle.
The beat up Lancia. Even there's something more charming about that. You know. I'm but a poor boy, you know. I'm a waiter. I'm just a wait. I'm your waiter at the restaurant. I'm your waiter. Get into my shit box. Let's go.
It's not
I
sexy
smell.
anymore,
I smell great.
Sam, there wasn't social media. In
The
those
car's
days.
gonna fall apart, but I'll get greasy. I'll fix it. You know. Then I'll go get you ice cream, and it'll melt as I'm bringing it to you. It's like a Hallmark
There
movie.
was a romance to it. It's not as sexy anymore because now you got to post on Instagram, and all that stuff doesn't look good on Instagram. Now they
Who
need the cool
wants-
stuff on Instagram.
who wants
that's
to-
That's unfortunately the generation we're in.
What are you talking about? You sound like an old man now. I was thinking about the next point. And
Oh God, I don't want to cut you off like that. Go ahead.
No, Instagram. Go. What's your beef? What's your beef with Instagram?
No, I don't have a beef with Instagram. I think there's a lot of positivity with Instagram, but I do think that the stories you're making about the old school guy who's showing up in a waiter in a Lancia, for example,
Oh,
it doesn't
yeah.
carry well in today's generation because today's generation you need to
don't
look
know,
cool
man.
on Instagram.
There's
the
this-
guy with a Lancia bringing you the ice cream is not as cool of a post as you entering as the guy holding the door open for you getting in the Ferrari.
Ladies still
Instagram still
ladies,
Instagram.
Ladies still want it though, dude. Ladies still want it.
They
And
want it, but they still want
there's
the guy to
two
hold the
types.
door at the
There's
Ferrari.
two types of alpha male TikTok. There's the one
Right.
that's saying, "Open the door. I'm a gentleman. I'm Jack. Get in my sports car." The other one is, I'm just a fucking stud. Even though I may not be rich, I'll still steal your bitch type of thing.
Yeah.
And there is kind of I think there's a romance to either. You know, there's a romance to
and
either.
chicks like a little bit of both.
A little bit of both. You know, you start with
Being
one, you have
stolen
a little, you have a little bit
allures
of
them.
fun, and then
Yeah.
you know you have your fun with the one, and then you get with the guy who will
Well, you spend a life
fuck
with.
around, but yeah, he'll give you a life on the Hamptons.
Mm-hmm.
He'll give you a life on the Hamptons. It'll be boring. It'll be vanilla, but you know what I mean.
It's still
So
a Hamptons.
I still,
it's still good for
but
Instagram.
but I still think that there's I think there's still a narrative that gets pushed. Get with the young fucking. The fucking artist or the boxer who's got nothing, whatever the fucking case may be. Get on board now, and it'll be hard, but it'll be fun. It'll be romantic. Dolce & Gabbana just did an ad with Katy Perry and Michele Morrone where he's like some guy working the docks. He's working the docks. And she's like some, she's just some, American model with the tits out, wearing like the sundress with lemons, and the guy on the docks sees her and is like, "I'm gonna make her mine." It's like a Titanic vibe. That's still
That's
popular
like
now.
Bon Jovi living on a prayer.
Kind of, yeah, a little
Bon
bit.
He actually said that working on the docks. Tommy worked on the docks, I think, and then living on a prayer. The Bon Jovi song.
No, but I think
See, I'm showing my age here.
No, but I've heard the song. I'm still Italian North American, right? That's a huge fucking. Well, when Bon Jovi comes to the Bell Center in Montreal, the fucking
Sells out.
the Italians still come out. No, I mean it's a fun time. The Italian aura is fun. The football is fun. You don't want to just qualify for a tournament like we did in 2020. It was fun because it was different, but it's supposed to be a soap opera.
Yeah.
You know, it's supposed to be operatic. Yeah. That's what this was. That's what this was today. Listen, you know, the bars were packed in Italy, I'm sure, today. It's good for business. It's good for, you know, morale.
It's good for Caffè Sportivo. Do you know what I
even just
did?
complaining?
I don't know if you've seen the Instagram footage where you're standing right here. Caffè Sportivo in 2020, when Italy won the European Cup. I even got a license to close the whole street outside. I mean, we went ballistic over here.
He
I mean,
did what he had
there
to
was
do.
if you look up Italy Euro 2020, Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, I'm sure you'll get footage of this street right here outside Caffè Sportivo. Ivan rented a huge screen TV outside.
He made it happen.
In
That's
a truck and shut down this block, and everybody was here.
And
People came from out of town to come here.
And listen, Matt. Yeah, a lot of people did. I know a guy from Boston who came to take part in the festivities here in Brooklyn. And you know what? An Italian guy who wanted to, you know, be more amongst it. It's not like there aren't Italians in Boston. They want to be here. No,
I actually like the North End.
And one thing they say about us missing tournaments, after we failed to qualify for the World Cup in 2018, I was listening to Radio Sport Italia because I wanted to, like, cathartically just I wanted, you know, just there was some catharsis, you know, just hearing people talk about it, you know, and watching, like, Caressa videos talking about, you know, how tragic it was and making a big deal of it. And one point he really a point that he made that I really liked was he was talking about how by missing the World Cup, even your mother, you know, who likes football passively but isn't a diehard like your father maybe is, right? Or maybe your dad was just a working guy who kind of passively pays attention for major tournaments and stuff. You know, he doesn't get that. He doesn't get the experience of, you know, coming together with his neighbors, you know, around the excuse of soccer, right? What Caressa said and what the guys on the radio were saying, which I liked, was he was saying, you know, by missing the World Cup, he said, perdiamo questa società. You know? You go out, everyone's happy, everyone's together. Even if you lose, we're all in it together. And I think that's why there's a lot of, you know, build-up today, you know? That's why we're all kind of like on the edge of our seats, like, fuck, not again.
Yeah.
You're starved for it,
nightmare.
you know? So the important thing is to just get there. We did. We're going to have a chance to, you know, take part in it. And, you know, it's going to be a good summer. Whatever the fuck happens, it's going to be a good summer. That's kind of the important thing.
It's good for business. I mean, you'll have
and it's
people
good for
coming
kids who
here.
need to,
Yeah,
you know,
you'll come
kind of
here.
feel a part of it in a world, you know, where the longer time goes on, the longer it's been since their family came over, right? So
Yeah.
and it's good for businesses like these as well. So
Yeah, of course. I mean, I remember Ivan, when we didn't qualify for the last World Cup, after we'd had such a huge celebration winning the Euro, was pissed off also because here at Caffè Sportivo, we're not going to have, it's going to bring less business. So it's also good for business. You're right about it in terms of the Italian establishments getting us all together.
this is a fun excuse for a podcast. I know the fucking, you know, the first 40 minutes are going to have been a black screen, you know, if you're watching this.
You guys understand.
But this is still a good pod, you know?
There's real-time drama here.
Yeah,
So-
there's real.
But I do think
We
that
got the last minute. We got the late equalizer. We salvaged it at the end.
We the referee gave us the penalty kick, unlike Ukraine
Yeah.
today. But I'll tell you, I remember in 2018, it was like not qualifying for the World Cup felt like the worst thing in the world. But today I've gotten so used to the mediocrity that you know what, I can still get into here and go crazy. And you know what, I'm not satisfied with mediocrity, but I'm happy we qualified. In 2018, it felt like the worst thing in the world.
And what about in 2022? How did it feel for you? Out of curiosity.
Not as bad as 2018.
Because
I was just already disgusted.
Because you just kind of you had come to expect it. Once you went to the playoff, you knew. Once we went to the playoff, you knew, oh, this is happening again. It felt like deja vu.
You know, once we tied Northern Ireland 0-0. Once we had that 0-0 tie with Northern Ireland, or with Ireland, Northern Ireland. Yeah, I think it was Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
Once I realized like we got a big problem. Mancini keeps putting in this mutt Immobile who should never even get near a store with a blue jersey, let alone
not as a starter in that
Italian,
in that
let
team.
alone being. And at that point, I felt like, you know, he's riding this till the wheels fell off. with this guy up front, because I thought we won the European Cup despite Immobile, and not because of Immobile.
sure,
And
for
anyway,
sure.
we actually played every game with 10 guys.
1000%.
I will give him credit for the Spain goal because he kind of took the defender with him, and Glauque is going to make that turn and shoot that. But for the most, and he scored a goal in the group stage, which we won. We scored 3.
He did what he had to do. Yeah,
we scored 3 of them that game, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, when you need great players are great when they need to be, and Immobile was always nowhere to be found when we needed him, and that's a key position to be watching the game from instead of playing the game. And I'll tell you what, we won that European Cup despite that guy on the field for 60 to 70 minutes every game. It stopped working at a certain point, and I felt like that's where Mancini lost the team. Once he kept pushing it with this guy, I felt like there was the players stopped believing in Mancini.
I do think the psychology...
And that mutt is one of the reasons why.
I do think the psychology came into it as well, though, where when they went to the playoff, it was, it was a lot of pressure to have to kind of overcome, knowing full well that they had just won a tournament, and a lot of those guys had missed the World Cup a few years prior. I think they capitulated under that.
There's no goals, Sam. I mean, the fact you're even in the playoffs because you're not scoring goals. Jorginho missing a penalty kick, but you're still not scoring goals.
Well, we talked about this before.
And then Northern Ireland, no goals.
We talked about this before, right? We should have qualified directly through a little bit of bad luck and the Jorginho missed penalties and a few random isolated incidents. We should have qualified, didn't. And then when you get to the playoff, when the team, is having to deal with the fact that there's this expectation that not only would they qualify, but that they might actually have the ability to go on a deep run in this fucking World Cup after having not qualified for the World Cup the year prior. With a lot of those guys having been, part of the same, the same cycle, it does make sense why they fell apart. But, scurro ancora. Non ci credo. Appena. Fuck. Okay, I'm gonna have to overcome this. The point is, when they... Holy shit. Let me just compose myself here. Vabbè, grazie di dirmelo. A posto. The point is, when, they didn't qualify for the second tournament, in a row, I do think, the second World Cup in a row, I do think that there was a level of, disappointment that was familiar for us, right? Yeah. You're like, all right, here we go again. This is what it is. There wasn't the same shock as the first time. I remember the first time that we failed to qualify for a tournament. I was so befuddled because it had never even crossed my mind that it would ever be a possibility. Yes. And now we're kind of resigned to it. And it might take a while for us to kind of overcome that, But I was still disappointed, I was still disappointed when we didn't qualify in 2022. I was devastated. The best thing that happened to me, at that point, because I was fucking, I was beside myself, right? Upset, thinking it's going to be 12 years before we fucking go to a world. It's going to have been 12 years between tournaments. Think of how crazy that is, at the earliest. But thankfully, my grandmother died the next day. So that was good. It distracted me from it.
That's terrible.
So the best thing that could happen to me is my grandmother died the next day. I was like, all right.
That's the opposite for me. I lost a Cotto fight, and then a month later, Italy won the World Cup.
Oh,
so the opposite of
brought you up. Yeah. Fuck. Okay, this is... we got 15 minutes of footage, Paulie. We got 15 minutes to clip from, and the rest of this is going to be dark.
Audio. It's all,
audio only.
Nice
old
thumbnail.
school.
Maybe a nice thumbnail like this.
The way it's supposed to be. Fuck it. Yeah. Just get mad for the thumbnail. It's fucking... We're going to need a fucking good thumbnail to suck people into this because we're not going to have many clips to cut from. I appreciate you doing this, though. I appreciate you hosting me here.
My pleasure, man.
I walked in with a bag like a putz. A bunch of guys around the bar, gathered around the television. I'm fucking not knowing where to sit, feeling out of place. The people here sound different how I sound. I'm feeling like I'm getting judged. I get asked immediately. I get taken care of immediately. What do you want? A coffee. Before I have a chance to pay, Paulie's like, don't worry about it. Take it. I feel very well taken care of.
We got you over here. Your family.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate you dealing with and bearing with the tech issues. The history of this pod is characterized by moments of just tragic tech issues, which are always just holding us back.
Growing pains.
We've been doing this for fucking 5 years. Anyway, yeah. You're a good get for us, man. I mean, this is not your first time on the pod. I hope you'll always be welcome to do this again. Man. It might be another. Yeah, maybe fucking in 2 years we'll do it again. Fuck, we'll do it. We'll get it right the third time. It won't be on Zoom. We graduated. Last time you were sitting on a couch eating fucking pizza. Now we graduated to mics.
To the cafe.
With about 15 minutes of footage. And next time, I don't know. It'll be a full on studio setup. But no. So what are you doing right now? Where can people check out your work currently?
I do boxing stuff. I work with Pro Box TV. You can check it out on YouTube. There's also an app. It's basically boxing talk shows, boxing podcasts, boxing news, and of course, every other Wednesday we have live boxing fights on the Pro Box TV app as well as the Pro Box TV YouTube channel live. So I think that's where mainly people can get me is, obviously people know I'm an ex-fighter and I work in boxing. Also, I have Paulie TV on YouTube.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's Paulie.tv on YouTube actually, and then it's I do my own little short clipped videos and then discuss boxing stuff. But that's more of a hobby than anything else.
Very fun.
Pro Box TV is the main gig. I also work with BYB. It's a bare knuckle promotion, and that's got a lot of fun fights as well. So I'm a little bit here, a little bit there, but mainly Pro Box TV. You can find me and BYB and Paulie TV.
No, you're a great analyst. I like that we can do this once in a while, and that we can give you an outlet to, albeit on largely audio only, give you an outlet to kind of talk about your first love. So this is cool, man. I'm appreciative of you coming on. I'm Sam Adamo. You could check it out if you so choose. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. My safe travels down to Florida. You spend as little time as possible in New York now. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean, mainly in the summers because Florida is a little bit difficult in the summer. But for the most part, I'm mainly in Florida. It's
New York 2.0.
It is New York 2.0 essentially, and it's a better New York at this point. At this point, it's probably better than New York.
Yeah.
If not for, I'll be honest, I keep pumping Ivan here at Caffè Sportivo, but if not for Ivan and Caffè Sportivo, Bensonhurst would be a skeleton of what it was.
Yeah.
This is like a little pocket in Bensonhurst.
This
to give you a flavor of what Bensonhurst was as a whole.
I'll tell you this. It's the last pocket. This will be the last domino to fall in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
This and Bay Ridge will fall first. Bensonhurst will be the last one.
No, Bay Ridge is gone already.
Bensonhurst will be the last one to fall.
Yeah, and even Bensonhurst is only small pockets, but Ivan is a big part of that. And so Caffè Sportivo, check us out, and with Ivan at Caffè Sportivo on 75th Street and 18th Avenue in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. Check us out. And ironically, in Florida, I also go to a Caffè Sportivo. It's in Pompano Beach. So it's funny. They're
beautiful.
Different owners, everybody friends, of course, all the same community. And Caffè Sportivo in Brooklyn, Bensonhurst, and Caffè Sportivo in Pompano. That's where you can find me.
This is great, man. Appreciate you taking the time. We're going to the Euro. That's good. It'll be good for the fucking pod. We'll at least we'll be able to fucking put out a little content in a few months. That makes me happy because that's what it's all about. It's content.
Yes.
That's the most important thing in the world. Okay, alla prossima. Ciao.
Ciao.